Hey, what's good, y'all? So I'm coming to y'all today because I went back and was reading through them witness statements, and one of the questions that kept coming up in my mind was like, well, damn, like, well, who was riding with who? And that's something that I'm still unclear about. So I wanted to figure out who the fuck was riding with who. Now I know some of y'all probably already know this, but me personally, I was still unclear um, as to who was riding with who. Now I know who was clicked up at the party, but I didn't know who was riding with who, and I think that's very important if we're wanting to move forward. Because one of the things I told y'all in the beginning is that we need to watch how these niggas was moving, and finding out who's riding with who. I mean, that kind of ties into watching these niggas move. So that's what I want to do in this video right here. And what I did was I had to break them down in the groups, y'all, according to their witness statements. And like I said, I'm not talking about who was clicked up at the party. There's a couple things that I want to know, and there's a couple things that I pulled out of these witness statements. One of the things that I want to know is what time did that nigga get there? Or at least what time does he want us to believe he got there? Um, and I also want to know who the fuck did he come with? Who was riding with him when he got there? Then I want to know what time did that nigga leave? And who the fuck did he leave with? You know, um, because I think that's very important. And we going to break down these witness statements. But one of the other things that I wanted to pull out of these statements was about Kanika. I wanted to know at the time that they left, what was Kanika doing? So, like I said, I broke them down into groups, and the fact that we already on Mike ass over here, I figured we would start with that nigga. So this is Mike right here, and according to the witness statements, Mike is linked to three other niggas, three of them. Okay, so the first nigga that he linked to is Killer. Now, Killer, it was his birthday. Remember, him and Irene was throwing their little shit together at the hotel. So it's his birthday. Okay? So that's the first nigga. The second nigga that Mike is linked to is Neff. Now, I highlighted Neff in the video that I just did about Mike because their witness statements didn't match up. But we'll get into that. So not only was he matched to these two niggas, he was also linked to Lil Ty. Yeah, he was linked to Lil Ty. So what we about to do right now is we about to break these four niggas down because again, I want to know who the fuck was riding with who, and we about to find out. So let's get it. So this is Mike's statement right here. Now I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but I'm gonna pull out the information that we need. So in his statement, he says that he went to the hotel on September the 9th, and he got there at approximately 0100 hours. That's 1 o'clock in the morning. He said that he left between 2 and 3 in the morning. Mike said he left the party after Irene's first Facebook Live video. And he also stated that he went there with blank, but I know that to be Killer, and I'll show y'all Killer's statement here in a minute. Um, he said he left because the party was weak. You know what I mean? So he bounced and shit. So then he says there was liquor and drugs going around. He advised that Jenkins was on, quote unquote, on the verge of being drunk before he left. Okay. So then at the end of his statement, he says after leaving the hotel, he proceeded to the city with Neff and Lil Ty. So, okay. So that was the information that we needed. So um, he told us that he arrived, he got there at 1 o'clock. He told us that he came with Killer. Him and Killer riding together. Then he tells us that he left between 2 and 3 in the morning. Now, and I told y'all that time frame between 2 and 3, I think is key to this fucking case, man. But let's move on. And then Mike tells us that he left with Neff and Lil Ty. Okay. And as far as Kanika goes, before he left, Kanika was quote unquote on the verge of being drunk. So, okay. All right, I'll go with that. So now let's see what these other niggas that he linked to had to say. So here's Killer's statement right here. Killer says that he went to the party on September the 9th and believed to have gotten to the hotel around 1:30. He said that he arrived to the party with Neff, Lil Ty, and Mike Mike. The party was for him and Irene's recent birthdays. Then he also tells us after leaving the hotel, he was driven to Chicago and dropped off at his residence. He stated that he left the party prior to 3 a.m. Jenkins was still in the room and appeared intoxicated but social with her friends. Okay, so think about what this little nigga just told us. He told us that he got to the party between 1 and 1:30. He told us he came with Neff, Lil Ty, and Mike Mike. He told us he left the party prior to 3 a.m. So, we don't know what time this nigga left for sure, but he said prior to 3 o'clock. But do y'all notice that he didn't say shit about who he left with? I mean, like, are we just to assume that he left with the same niggas that he came with? There's nothing in there about who he left with. And then, not only that, when he said he left, Kanika was intoxicated but still social. So even this nigga telling us shit. At this point, before he leaves, Kanika good. She's still good. So it's like, okay, all right. So now let's move on and let's move to another nigga linked to Mike Mike. And that's this nigga right here, Neff. So here's Neff's statement right here. Neff says that he went to the party on September the 8th. He said that he arrived there at 11 p.m. When they asked Neff how he got there, he denied driving himself, but he said he drove there with a female named C in a gray Buick SUV. And we all know that to be Sierra Jackson, the girl in the video that I was calling the bull dagger and shit. I call her the bull dagger. He was unable to provide us any information about her real name or any contact information for her. I always thought that was suspect as hell. Cause I'm like, damn, you just riding with niggas like you don't know her name, no nothing, nigga. Like that shit was suspect as hell to me. So then he says, when asked specifically about September the 8th, Neff said that Kanika walked out of the room and Maya and Monifa walked out behind her. Maya and Monifa came back to the hotel room approximately 10 minutes later and told the group that they for real can't find Kanika. Okay. Yeah. So then, if you look at the end of his statement, he says, when asked how he got home from the hotel party, he stated that Bibby, later identified as Mike Mike, was his ride home. Okay, so let's think about what the fuck he just said right here. So Neff just told us that he got to the party at about 11 o'clock and he came with C. So C was his ride. Now, in his statement, we don't know what time he left. He don't say what time he left, but he tells us that Bibby was his ride home. And Bibby is Mike Mike. So he left with Mike Mike. And most importantly, when he left, Kanika was already missing. When he said in his statement, Shamaya and them left out with Kanika, they came back in talking about they couldn't fucking find her. So at this point, she missing. And Neff is still there. And this is what fucks me up about Neff's statement. Because don't forget what Mike Mike said. Mike Mike said that she was just on the verge of being drunk when he left. Now, Neff is telling us she missing. She fucking missing. But y'all niggas left together. That shit don't add up. It don't. So You know, it's cool. We gonna try to get to the bottom of this shit, man. So let's continue on. Let's talk about this last nigga, Lil Ty. So here is who we think is Lil Ty's statement. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I at first I wasn't convinced that this was his statement. So I reached out to a couple other YouTubers and they like, yeah, that's Lil Ty's statement. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I go with it, but I'm still a little suspect about this statement. But this is what Lil Ty tells us. He tells us that he went to the party and that he arrived at approximately 2100 hours and he left around 0400 hours. Now, this nigga just said he got there at 9 o'clock. 9 p.m. is when he got there. He tells us that he arrived with his cousin Blank, and the two of them were dropped off by a female that goes by the name of Cece. He doesn't know her real name, how old she is, or where she lives. She also picked them up when they left. Okay, so again, we got another nigga talking about he rode to the party with Cece, but don't know shit about her though. That's why I'm saying, like, is this bitch the Uber driver? Like, is she just making cab trips around that motherfucker? Like, I'm confused as to what part she really play in this shit. Yeah, I'm okay. We got to figure that out. And then, excuse me, Lil Ty tells us that at approximately 2300 hours, Kanika arrived with two female friends. He tells us that she was drinking, she was being social. Then he tells us that Kanika and her two friends left the room at approximately 300 hours, which is 3 o'clock. Again, he says that Kanika is intoxicated, but they done left out the room. Uh, Maya and Monifa then came back in, and again, Kanika missing. And then he tells us at 4 o'clock, Cece picked him up and took him the fuck home. Okay, so let's look at what the fuck this nigga just told us. So Lil Ty tells us that he got to the party at 9 o'clock and that Cece was his ride there and he went there with his cousin. First, and then who the fuck is his cousin? Then he tells us that he left at 4 a.m. and he left with the same motherfuckers he came with, Cece and his cousin. Now, at this point, Kanika missing. She's missing. So when right before Neff left, Kanika's missing, and right before Lil Ty leaves, Kanika's missing. But y'all niggas left with Mike Mike. Mike Mike said she was good. So, okay, one of them niggas is lying. Now, these four niggas need to get their story straight because none of this shit makes sense. And I want y'all to let me know in the comments what y'all think about their stories. Because look at this shit. Mike Mike said he came with Killer. Killer said he came with Mike Mike. And them motherfuckers got there between 1 and 1:30. So, okay, they stories match. All right. But then Mike Mike tells us he leaves between 2 and 3. But he tells us he's with Neff and Lil Ty. So now in Killer's statement, Killer didn't tell us who he left with. We didn't know that. So I mean, are we to again? Are we to assume that Killer left with the rest of these niggas? I mean, motherfuckers sent me this picture right here. They emailed me this picture because they said in that video that I did about Mike Mike that I had the names wrong, and that's supposed to be Mike Mike over here on the side and Neff up here in the front. Now I need y'all help with this one. Now, Lil Ty, he looked like a nigga that they'll call Lil Ty. But help me with the picture, y'all. Now, I don't give a damn what order these niggas come in. These niggas suspect as hell to me, all four of them. And look at that time right here. Look at that timestamp. That shit says 11:32. Now, I'm one who believes that the time fucked up. So I wasn't putting too much weight into that. But what I did find was some witness statements that contradicted what these niggas told us. Mike Mike and Killer said they got there between 1 and 1:30. Neff said 11 and Lil Ty said 9. Now look at Irene's statement. Irene tells us in her statement that she gets to the hotel at about 10 o'clock and she got there with her sister, her cousin, and her friend. She said that she left the hotel about 10:30 to pick up swishers to smoke some weed at the hotel room. She said that when she returned at 11, the following people were in the hotel room: Killer, Mike Mike, Neff, and Lil Ty. Now, she also states that these guys showed up and brought the weed with them. So these niggas got the weed. She done left to go get swishers. She get back, the niggas with the weed is there. So, oh, okay. But what I don't understand is she's telling us that she got back at about 11 o'clock and these niggas was already there. Which I just showed y'all Mike's statement and Killer's statement. Them niggas said that they got there between 1 and 1:30. So who the fuck lying? And if Irene is telling the truth, why would why would Mike and Killer want us to think that they ain't get there till 1? And if Irene is lying, then why the fuck would Irene want us to think that them niggas was there earlier than what they were? And then you have Ernisha's statement. And in her statement, she says that she got there about 11:30. And when she got there, Peasy or Peas, whatever the fuck his name is, she said that he's there and Killer. So my thing is this: if she gets there at 11:30 and Killer's already there, I mean, shit, that would mean Mike was already there. I mean, nigga, you was his ride. You was his ride. So my thing is this: Mike was the driver, but I want to know what kind of car does he drive? What does he drive? Because in this little group right here, Mike's the driver. So I went back to the beginning looking for this text message or a Facebook post from Mike, and I ended up finding it, and it was on Christy the Queen. Do y'all remember this right here? In this Facebook post, basically what Mike is saying is that he was at the party. He tells motherfuckers that he was the driver, and he says that that's him that we hear arguing in the background. Like, you ran with me or what? Remember that shit? And somebody was like, oh, bro, like, you tripping. And dude, like, I ain't never tripping. Like, so Mike is basically telling us, yeah, that's me in the background. So I wanted to know, who the fuck was he talking to? Out of those 4 niggas, who was he talking to? Was it Killer? Because, see, remember, Killer didn't tell us who he left with. And Mike didn't mention Killer. So, I mean, I'm just asking. You know, I'm just asking. But this was the Facebook post that I was looking for. And then as I was looking for that, I found this shit right here. And this was some comments going back and forth to Mike, but it's from a girl named Jamie. And she said, yeah, and that nigga did something to Kanika. Mikey, we own you, blood, nigga, really though. And that Van Blood, you own that video, bitch. You and your ugly ass friends. Think y'all slick. Okay, so when I saw this fucked me up. Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. This was the first time that I've seen this. I hadn't seen this. And somebody is basically saying, shit, Mike on this fucking video. And they told us in the beginning, like, there was a video of the shit. Whatever the fuck happened to her was on video. And I believe it was. Because I believe that's the video that Monifa sent to fucking Irene. I mean, that's just what I think. But again, it raised the question again, what kind of car does Mike drive? Does he drive a van? Because as I was going through those witness statements, I found some niggas in a van. Now, was Mike driving a van, or was he just with some niggas in the van? Yeah, okay. We got to ask the right questions, man. We got to ask the right questions, and I hope this video helped y'all. Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think about this shit. And we going to go from there.